Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Speak from the Heart, a testimonial podcast series where athletes share their faith behind their story and their athletic career. And today I'm with a gymnast from the University of Georgia, Brooke Gleichowski. So, Brooke, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to have you on here.
Hey Cole, so glad to be here and just excited to talk with you today.
Yes, of course. I mean, I've been watching your stuff. We talked a little bit before. Had reposted a bunch of your stuff, and I kept on seeing Beam Boldly, your podcast. So super excited to talk to you today. We have a pretty similar thing going on, so it'll be
Yeah.
cool to get your experience and share your experience. So give me some of your
Yep.
background. So you're from Gainesville, Florida, and gymnastics is a
Yes.
sport that requires a lot of discipline from a young age. I mean, I was doing a backflip. I've been doing backflips. I don't know if you've seen them,
I
but
saw that. I saw
it's
that.
it's it's a different. I mean, I don't know how you all do that stuff like consistently because I'm sore and I probably did maybe 10 today. So what was your upbringing like, and how did that environment shape who you are today, and why did you choose gymnastics?
Yeah. So I'm from Gainesville, Florida. So I grew up in Gator Nation. My dad actually was a baseball player at the University of Florida.
Oh wow.
So automatically having a parent who is a student athlete kind of like instills that little fire in you.
Hmm.
But actually, when I started gymnastics, I didn't really like it. I was very fearful, very timid, which is not the normal, generic, like a beginning story for a gymnast. Normally, it's like, oh, I was a kid with all this energy, like not afraid of anything. So my parents had to put me in gymnastics so I could learn to do things safely. I was not that way at all. My mom kind of did gymnastics growing up, so it was just kind of like, yeah, let's put her in and see. And I did not like it at first. I cried all the time.
Yeah.
But it was around age 9 that I kind of started to realize that I was kind of good at it. I could kind
Hmm.
of do it, and that there was definitely talent involved. And that was also the first time that I had a coach come in that really believed in me like, you
Hmm.
are good at this, you can make it far. So that was definitely the moment where I was like, okay, wait, I like this. Let's with it. Um, and dreams and goals and see where we can go. And then, yeah, growing up in a college town around the University of Florida also was super cool to just be able to go to any sporting event, but especially like Gator gymnastics,
Yeah.
Florida gymnastics, just because it was like exactly what I want to do. I was just like constantly around it.
Yeah.
And every time, I mean, I remember times where I was just, kind of whatever about gymnastics, not really any, you know, great days or horrible days, and I would go to a Gator meet and it would just like spike this fire in me, and it was
Yeah.
like that's exactly what I needed just seeing it. So yeah, that's a little bit about my background, and then yeah, now I'm at the University of Georgia doing
Yeah.
gymnastics and it's amazing.
That's unbelievable. I have a similar experience growing up playing baseball, how you felt growing up with gymnastics. I was very timid. I was timid. I was
Mhm.
smaller, didn't love it. Like, I remember my dad was a principal at my elementary school, and so I would come see him from time to time. And I don't remember doing this, but I've seen a post-it note, and I wrote, Dad, I'm scared to go to baseball today, or something like that.
Mhm.
Like, just because I was a nervous kid. I mean, that
Yeah.
was but I eventually started, like you said, like, I was like, okay, I can kind of do this. I enjoy this. I'm
Mhm.
starting to have fun with it. And I actually grew up in Somerset, so I was about an hour and a half from Lexington, where I got to watch the University of Kentucky. So
Mhm.
I got to see that as well, and that the atmosphere, the cheering, like how awesome everything is, like how cool those guys looked out there. And I was like, dang, that'd be pretty cool. So I
Yeah.
always wanted to go to EKU or University of Kentucky. But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, look at you now. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Incredible.
you've had a lot of early success. I usually go through like whoever whatever athlete I'm interviewing. I
Mhm.
kind of get like a just some background on them. Like usually, what's great about it is on the roster you can see almost everything. And you had lots of success in club gymnastics. You qualified for nationals, and you
Mhm.
even won a beam championship. So how do those early experiences teach you about confidence, discipline, and trusting in God's process for you?
Yeah. Well, okay, so I spent the last part of my club gymnastics career at a pretty legit club gym
Hmm.
in Brady Johnson's, and it was actually an hour. It's an hour and a half away from Gainesville, so that already like that level, that standard, that dedication was
Yeah.
like, if I'm doing this, like I'm going all in for this, because I told my parents I was like, I still have to go to public school. Like I want to go to
Hmm.
school. I don't want to do homeschool. So we're gonna have to figure out how to make this work where I'm going to school and driving an hour and a half to and from practice every day. So that was kind of just like automatic. Like if we're doing this, we're going in hard. Like
Hmm.
the discipline in that and dedication in that like set that tone from the start. And then I think those, kind of titles or accomplishments, especially like on beam and floor, were really just like confidence boosters because of course in gymnastics you work like, I mean, we train 20 to 25 hours a week,
Hmm.
and there's only in club there's only like 6 meets of the entire year. So like
Yeah.
very different from baseball where you guys have like
Yeah.
lots and
We
lots
have
of games.
tons of games. Yeah.
We are practicing like crazy, and then we only have a certain number of meets. So I think it was just those little moments were really cool to see how that hard work and discipline was paying off, but to also give me confidence in like, hey, you can take this further. Let's take this to the next level. Like, let's keep pushing because if you are, the best on beam in the state of Florida, like you can go compete for a lineup spot at an
Hmm.
SEC school. So I think that's really what those titles did for me, was just like give me a little bit of confidence in myself that I could keep going and keep doing this. And I really think I, found Jesus, which I know we'll talk about in a little bit. It was really like my sophomore to senior year of high school. And that just changed my perspective a lot because that's also like the prime time of recruiting. And
Yeah.
so like having that alongside my recruiting process was really um, a big deal and really helped through that process and shift my perspective from like, this is so cool that I get to do this and that it is a gift. And like the Lord has given me these accomplishments, these, state championships, qualifying to nationals, all those things, to help give me confidence for me to know that he wants me to take that next step. Like
Yeah.
he's pushing me that direction because like that is his plan for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. I want you to talk about more about your recruiting process.
Mhm.
With me, I went to an EKU camp and the coach liked me, wanted me to come back. I did pretty good both times, and then I got a scholarship. And so that was my
Mhm.
experience with getting recruiting. But I also want you to talk about a little bit about like the pressure and expectations. Like, did you face any of that? Because I feel like whenever I was like, oh, I'm the D1 commit. Like I come from a
Mhm.
smaller town of Somerset, and so everyone kind of knows everybody. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to play a lot of people that I already know, and I wanted to prove it to them that I was the D1 guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So go through what the recruiting process was like for you, and how did you handle those expectations and maybe that pressure along the way?
Yeah. I think this is like one of the topics that needs to be talked about more for
Yeah.
sure. And I always start off with saying that everyone's story is so different and everyone's walk is so different. Like everyone's recruiting process is so different. So I definitely went into mine thinking like, okay, June 15th comes along. That's like the day that you can start talking to coaches. I'll
Hmm.
probably get a couple messages, nothing crazy, but like I was kind of, getting somewhere. I was like, in a couple months, we'll see. But June 15th came around and I got absolutely nothing. No messages, no calls. And like I said, I came from a very established club gym where my teammates were also incredible gymnasts. And so they were getting calls and I was not. And
Yeah.
that sent me into a full on panic. I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I been doing the last however many years?" Like I said, I'm in the car a total of 3 hours a day to do this and I get 0 calls on June 15th.
Hmm.
Whoa. That was that was a rough day.
Yeah.
But I gymnastics, there's 4 events, right? Vault, bars,
Hmm.
beam, and floor. And my beam and floor were like definitely up to par. And so I had a lot to like show on those events. But vault and bars, really hard for me. I struggled a lot mentally, especially on vault. And so it was hard for me to be super recruitable because I was like really good on two events, but then
Hmm.
like nobody's gonna really look at me for the other two.
Yeah.
Um, but then when you get to college, most gymnasts don't actually compete for events.
Mm.
So it was like it's weird because it's hard to get recruited if you don't do all four, but then you're most likely not going to do all four when you get there anyways.
Yeah, that is
Uh,
weird. What the
yeah,
heck?
exactly. But I remember I was just getting really discouraged, the couple days and couple weeks after that because I was like, dang, I guess I just got to keep going and hope that something comes along. But like nothing came along right away. And someone told me, like, stop focusing on what you don't have, on the skills you don't have. Stop focusing on what you are not as good at and just show what you do have.
Hmm.
Show that you are great on beam and floor. Show that you are a personality person. You love talking, care about your teammates. Like you can't wait to get to college because college gymnastics is way more of a team sport. Like it really shifts from this individual perspective to this team perspective. Like show all of that, show who you are as a person, and stop focusing on what you don't have. Of course,
Yeah.
keep working hard on those things,
Hmm.
don't give up on them. But that was a huge just like shift in perspective for me during the process that took a lot of stress off and helped me to then actually start talking to coaches because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to post a heck of a lot of beam videos. All they're going to see me do is beam and then a bunch of floor stuff. And, maybe that'll catch their eye, but I'm not just
Yeah.
going to not post because I don't have anything
Hmm.
on bars and vault. Uh,
Yeah.
so definitely the recruiting process is pretty stressful no matter if you get handed 7 scholarships on your first day or none. Like either way, it's a big decision and you're young making that decision. So it's normal to be stressful, like be stressed out during it. But that like perspective shift was huge for me.
Yeah. And it's cool how you talked about like being good what you're like being good with what you're good at, like using
Mhm.
that strength to your advantage. And like we're all born and blessed with different talents and different things that we're good at. Like for instance, I was never a power guy. I never could hit home
Mhm.
runs. But I always saw the dudes that would hit home runs. I'm like, oh, I wish I was that. I wish I was that. And comparison is the thief of joy. And so I stopped. I was like, well, I'm just not good enough. I'm not a good hitter. I can't do it like this. But I have pretty good bat to ball skills. I'm a pretty good contact guy. Like I'm faster. So maybe I can use that to my advantage. It took me so long to figure that out. Like once I got to college, I see all these dudes that are 23, 24 years old hitting home runs, and I'm here when I'm 19 years old. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do that too. And it doesn't work
Mhm.
out for me very well. And now here I am, 23 at the end of my career, and now I'm just starting to figure it out. So, I mean, the Lord has a plan. Even in Proverbs
Mhm.
16:3, it talks about committing your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. So if we look to him and focus on him and what we try to do, he will establish a plan for us, whether it is
Sure.
baseball or whether it is gymnastics. Like just
Yeah.
dedicating that
Well,
plan.
and I think too, it forced me to think about who I was and what I was beyond gymnastics. Like,
Yes.
what else do I have to offer? And so that helped me lean into how good of a teammate can I be, which ultimately it all trickles back to like, how can I be a light? How can I shine the
Yeah.
light of the Lord? And that's like being a good teammate. How can
Hmm.
I serve my teammates? Like, it helped me lean into those things, and then I was able to present that to a college coach. And that,
Hmm.
is not something that a normal 16-year-old girl would tell a college coach. Like they're not
Yeah.
always like, I love being a great teammate. If I don't even care if I'm not in the lineup, I would like love to cheer someone else on. Like that
Yeah.
is a different perspective. So
Hmm.
it forced me out of like the me and onto like, what else do I have to offer, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great perspective. And honestly, sometimes it becomes such a business. Like college athletics is just a huge business. And sometimes you
Mhm.
kind of forget about the human aspect of it, of how can I be a good teammate? How can I be a better person to these people? Like how can I impact them outside of the sport itself? And those qualities are really, really, really important. And the great coaches out there will recognize that. And I'm sure that's why
Mhm.
you're there, and that's why I'm here, because I'm sure we have both
Exactly.
of those people that we can rely on and look at that really care about who we are as human beings and who we are as believers. So Um,
Yeah.
let's go into your transition to Georgia. So you go to Georgia, competing in the SEC, one of the biggest stages in college gymnastics. And so, what was that transition like from club to college, and what were some like important lessons that you learned early on?
Yeah. Boy, I've learned like so much in the last 2 years. It's like unbelievable. I don't even know if I'll be able to remember every little thing I've learned. But I kind of mentioned this before. In club gymnastics, you're really focused on yourself and your own achievements. That's just like how the sport is. It's very individual. But when you get to college, everything is about the team. Like nobody cares if you won an event. I mean, that sounds harsh, but like nobody cares
Sure.
if you're
Yeah, of course.
won the event if the team didn't, accomplish the
Hmm.
team's goals and win in whatever the way that means. And so I think that is just a huge change that every gymnast goes through, going from club to college. And then, of course, like competing is a whole new world. Like I went from, club meets are like 4 hours long and crazy and everyone's going at the same time and whatever, to I'm in Stegman Stadium with thousands of fans, a worship song's playing, and I'm the only one doing gymnastics.
Hmm.
Like it's all eyes on you,
Yeah.
which is also a totally different feeling.
Yeah.
I remember like I actually like I fell my first two meets, which was like threw my head into a spiral because I was
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, I'm a freshman and I made lineup and I just bombed it twice. Like, oh
Yeah.
my, what's going on? And I remember talking and saying, like, I feel like I'm getting up there and I'm floating, like I'm levitating. Like, I don't know if it's nerves or my mindset or the crowd. Like, I don't know what it is, but I would get up there and literally feel like I was just like floating. And so
Hmm.
after that, I was like, we've got to reel this in because I'm training like near to perfect and then I'm going in the meet and I'm like I can't even like control my body.
Yeah.
And so I really leaned into my teammates at that time. I I need to lean on my teammates, which is, again a little bit weird cuz when I'm on the beam, I'm the only one doing the actual flips. But
Yeah.
I was like I can't do this on my own anymore. Like I don't like getting up there and feeling like I'm just like all on my own up on this big stage, right? So I was like,
Hmm.
how can I make it feel like my teammates really have my back and are with me? And that's when I really started listening to my teammates while I was on the beam. I made it a point in my head to be like, I'm going to listen to my teammates. Like I'm going to hear them because I don't know what's going on in my own head, but I know that they believe me and they've got my back. So
Yeah.
they're going to tell me the things that are true and that are encouraging. And then that was actually the weekend that we were competing here at UF in my hometown, which was just like so full circle because I was like, oh my gosh, I grew up going to Gator meets. Now we're competing here.
Yeah.
Um, and I ended up like having my personal high, like career high so far.
Yeah.
Um, and in my hometown, which is amazing.
That's
Um,
awesome.
but yeah, definitely it's a huge change. And the other thing that I would just say I learned a lot this year now in my sophomore year is truly enjoying the sport because gymnastics is a sport that most of the time you're done after college. Like
Hmm.
there's very few that continue in elite or go to the Olympics after college. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have, 3 to 2 more years of this sport. I'm going to enjoy every single second, whether I'm on the sidelines and I didn't make lineup that week or I did make lineup. I'm going to make this beam routine or this floor routine like the most enjoyable routine, no matter what happens, because this is such a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
And the way that I can be a light and shine a light is by enjoying what I'm doing
Yeah.
and not getting so caught up and frustrated in the moment, you
Hmm.
know, for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Yeah. And that's really cool that you mentioned that because baseball is, I guess, a little bit different in that. I feel like there's a lot of like there's if you have a pretty solid college career, there's most likely going to be an independent ball opportunity, not necessarily like, an affiliated MLB partner, or being signed or drafted to an MLB organization. But I always was so focused on the future, like
Mhm.
after college. And so I didn't enjoy where I was my first couple of years of college. And I had to really lock in the fact that not everybody, like what you said, not everybody makes it after college. And just enjoying the moment where I am now. And it took me so long to realize that too. You know, I'm on my fourth year and I'm finally like, okay, I get to hang out with my friends today. I get to hang out with my guys. I get to go watch a game with them or come back to the house. And like I live in a house with like six other roommates, so we always get to hang out. And like I never was appreciative of those moments back in the past whenever, you know, I would come back from the dorm and I have, you know, a 0 for 4 day or maybe a 1 for 5 day. Like I'm upset at myself with a couple Ks. But man, like we we can sit here and fixate on what's going wrong and you know maybe the future, but that's not really truly where our feet are. And just being humbled in that experience and enjoying that experience that you have is so important, and it makes you better.
Yeah.
It makes you enjoy it more and makes you just be so appreciative and grateful of that moment. But I want to go back to what you said about just kind of feeling like you're floating, like you're alone. Like I've had so many
Yeah.
experiences in the batter's box where I'm like, I'm on an island. I've said that many times throughout my career. I'm on
Mhm.
an island. I feel alone. Because I mean, gymnastics and baseball is pretty similar from what I'm learning from this conversation is like
Yeah.
individually impact your team by your individual performance. Like whenever you're hitting, you're the only one up there.
Right.
Like you're not the team's not hitting with you. You're the only one up there. And so it's such a, I'm sure you've had that experience too. Of it's so mental.
Yeah.
Everything is just so
Gosh, so
mental.
mental.
Watching the Olympics makes me get stressed out and I start sweating. I can feel my palms start sweating, especially when like like whoever's on the beam. It's usually the beam event that freaks me out the most.
Mhm.
But when it's like when it zooms out into the parents of the athlete, and
Mhm.
they're like, oh my, like that is what stresses me out. I'm like, holy crap, this is big, and
Yeah.
that all those moments like that, like the mentality part of it is so
Yeah.
big, and
I
having to
mean,
face that.
we say this all the time, like the actual skills, like the elements that we're doing on the beam are not insanely like crazy elements at all. Like we say, if you can do it on the floor, you can likely do it on the beam.
Yeah,
But I'm sure, you just learned a backflip. You'd be like, oh my gosh, no way could I ever do that on the beam, right?
yeah,
Like even
no,
if
heck
you can't
no,
do it on the
heck
ground.
no.
Right. And so that just like shows you how mental it
Mhm.
is because I've been doing these skills on the balance beam since I was like 10 years old. Like it's been about 10 years now that I've been doing these skills. So I've been doing them a long time.
Yeah,
Um, and it still is mental. I mean, every day. And then especially when you get into competition, that like isolated island feeling is
yeah,
so hard to beat. And I think when I realized that like that was also the enemy
hmm
making me feel like that
yes,
and putting those thoughts and even those feelings like into my mind, I was like, whoa, we got to shut
yeah.
this down. Like
hmm
that is not the truth and that's not going to help me succeed at all.
Yeah, and that doubt, that devil will eat you away. He'll pull that
Mhm.
doubt in your head and that fear that you can't do it. Look, you're all alone. Like you can't do this. Are we serious?
Mhm.
And it's that's whenever my faith started to get better because I knew in those moments whenever I was alone, I wasn't truly alone.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm excited to talk about your podcast, but we'll get into that in a second. I
Yeah.
want to ask a couple more questions about Beam itself. So
Okay.
you mentioned talking about like it's you still face it. You still face, you know, obviously when you get up there, it's not like, oh, I got all this figured out already. I have this
Mhm.
routine or whatever. But yeah, you do. Like you start to get a routine, you start to develop that confidence, but you still have those moments where you feel maybe some pressure or anxiety.
Yep.
So how have you learned to handle that and to stay present and to trust God in those moments when you get up on that beam?
Yeah, I think well, your mind is really powerful in what you're allowing, which thoughts you're allowing to have weight and purpose
Yeah.
um, means a lot and impacts you a lot. So, I mean, like I said, I've been doing these same skills for almost 10 years now, which is crazy. But there's been so much learning in that of like, there's some days where I know in my head, I'm really in my head, I'm really nervous. I'm like having all these thoughts that are just like clearly not from the Lord. And I have
hmm
to calm it down. I have to reel it in. I have to say,
hmm
okay, these thoughts are not from the Lord. What would God tell me right now? Um, I love praying the prayer like, God, would you get in my head before I do today? Would
hmm
you get in my head um, before I do this, triple series on the beam or whatever it
hmm
is? Because that immediately, it's like a act of surrender. Like, all
Yeah.
right, I put my thoughts in your hands and I want you to take control. But then there's other days where I go in, I feel super laid back and I'm like, whoa, I still gotta, hype up
Mhm.
and lock in because these skills are still crazy that I'm doing, on the beam.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think learning, I've learned just so much about myself and then how to react to the way that I'm feeling or whatever, depending on the day, has helped so much because, yes, like I talk with younger gymnasts all the time and they're like, how do you not get nervous? I'm like, I get nervous all the time.
Yeah.
Like after nationals, we took like a week and a half off of gymnastics, which is like feels like, a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm nervous to do my skills
Hmm.
again. Like that's crazy. I was just competing these skills on the national stage. Like,
Yeah.
how are they making me nervous? But it is real. That's the reality of it.
100%.
Still get nervous all the time, but it's learning how to react to those feelings and how to get the Lord into it. Sometimes when I just feel so like I don't even know what to say, I'm just like, God, I invite you in. I just invite you in. I
Yeah.
invite you in right now. I invite you into this turn. I invite you into the gym. Just like help me. That's all I got to say, God.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just having that constant conversation with Him is honestly
Hmm.
super helpful. Um, and I didn't really learn that until I got to college. But
Yeah.
I think it's just so cool how how God has used gymnastics to help me grow in my faith and learn more about him and trust and rely on him more. Like I think if I didn't do gymnastics, I would not be um just as like strong in my faith,
Yeah.
which is just
100%.
like so it's cool that God like can use our sport to do that.
Yeah. And I've been having that epiphany as well as like I don't know who I would be without baseball. It's such a mental game, especially like the mental sports that we get into,
Hmm.
like gymnastics and baseball, and there's other mental sports, but those are pretty powerful, pretty intense mental sports. But just who I am, who would I be without baseball? Like it's such a mental game, and it's cool how you talked about how like some people ask you like, how do you not feel nervous? How do you relax? Like I don't have that figured out. I don't have it figured out completely.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same thing with like our faith sometimes. Is like I'm a sinner. I'm not perfect and you aren't either. And we both have podcasts that talk about our faith and like how God has helped us and how to help other gymnasts or athletes kind of in our experience and giving their testimony and talking about God. Like there's times where the devil has gotten to me and been like, wow, you don't have faith right now? Are you serious? You have all this podcast. You're such a hypocrite. You post all this stuff. How could you feel that way whenever you say all these things? And I'm like, I gotta calm that down because that's so much pressure on myself. And I have this imagination that I should have everything figured out because I started this. I should have everything, my mind, my mental, my anxiety, my whatever feelings that I have that are negative to be figured out because I have such a strong faith and I have this podcast. But that's not true. We
No.
walk we walk through adversity every day. Sin creeps up on us all the time, and temptation is everywhere. Like this world is calling our name as we speak. So it's cool to have that perspective that you had too. Is that we don't have it all figured out,
Mhm.
and that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
Um, and what's cool about what you said, being in constant conversation with God, is that has helped me out so much in the past couple
Mhm.
months. I just kept on hearing that saying. I kept on hearing it, like being in constant conversation with God. And I was like, I don't do that. I feel like I wake up in the morning, I'm say, God, thank you for another day. I may go through some adversity during the day and be like, God, please help me. And then before I go to bed, I say my prayers. And that's not, I mean, he wants to have a relationship with us. He wants to
Mhm.
he wants to know you. A rule of thumb that I kind of learned or try to go by is like, he doesn't know, he obviously does, but he doesn't know what you don't tell him. And so I want to tell him everything. I want to tell him about my day, how everything went. And that's really powerful for prayer for
Mhm.
me. And that whoever's watching this, maybe you can invite that in as well. Is just, talk about, what you had for dinner today or what you had for lunch or what you
Yeah.
plan on doing today or how
Right.
you felt during this. It doesn't have to be in the hills and the valleys. It can be in the plains too. You
Oh,
know
for sure.
what I'm saying?
Well, and like he's Jesus is our friend and like but he's also our like God is our father. So
Yeah,
like what things would you tell your friend or tell your dad? Like
exactly.
those he's like a two in one. So there's really nothing you can't bring to him at that
Yeah.
point.
Hmm.
Um and no, I love that. again, how would you have a relationship with your friend or a relationship with your dad if you didn't talk to him?
Yeah,
If you didn't
exactly
tell him
right.
what you had for dinner or what you wanted for dinner
Hmm.
or, what you were excited to do the next day or what you did that day. Like
Yeah.
you can't have those relationships without talking to them and communicating with them.
Hmm.
Um, and so yes, while it's sometimes hard because we don't get that direct like uh conversation coming back from God, that doesn't mean that that's not still growing our relationship
Yeah,
with him.
of course. And this is what I want to get into. I'm excited to talk about this, but your Being Boldly podcast. So Mr. Cross, who followed me on Instagram, posted because I posted a bunch of Jesus One stuff. I started following him because he started reposting and liking all my stuff, and then he also reposted and likes your stuff too. So I started saying Being Boldly, and where you talk about faith and gymnastics and all that. And I just think that was awesome because I was like, wow, that's exactly what I'm doing. But I'm more so, I have a pretty broad, I mean, it's just an athlete that has a testimony, but yours was
Yeah.
focused on gymnastics. And I was like, okay, wow, this is really inspiring. And that's why I wanted to reach out to you and see if you want to be a part of this because what you're doing is amazing. And I felt like we'd have a lot of similar experiences and kind of motivations as to why we're both doing what we're doing. So walk me through that. What inspired you to start it, and how has that platform help you grow in your faith?
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. This is my first time realizing it's like about a year ago is when I started thinking about it.
Hmm.
And I was back home after my freshman year, at UGA, and I was driving that hour and a half drive to my club gym again. And I was just reflecting, thinking like, wow, I used to be in the car for an hour and a half on the way to practice, so anxious, so nervous, so timid, like my stomach hurts, I start crying for no reason, like I can't control my emotions
Hmm.
and I don't even know what the day has for me. Like I don't even know what practice is going to look like and I'm already freaking out. And I was actually listening to a podcast as I was like reflecting on this. And I just thought, like, wow, it would have been so cool to have an older gymnast or athlete to look up to and to listen to about how they invite God into their sport. Because I, for a long time, just really struggled to understand how, like, on Sundays, I was so confident, so excited about church, like, so involved in my youth group, just, you know, on fire for the Lord. And then Monday morning, I turn around and I'm like the most anxious person on the
Hmm.
planet. Like, I was like, this is not, I feel like I'm living a double life here. Like, this doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. Um, but a lot of my freshman year at UGA was learning how to invite God into that. And so I was like, well, I know I haven't learned all of it, but I've learned a heck of a lot that I would have loved to know when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so I was like, around this same time, I had just changed my major to more of like a people person, talking major, wanting to just like help the community, help people. And I was like, huh, I was just thinking about my strengths and I love talking to people
Hmm.
and I love talking about Jesus. And I know a lot of other people that would love to like have these conversations with me. And so I called my dad and I was like, Dad, how hard is it to start a podcast? Like, could I start a podcast about this?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like how it started. And from there, we just started working on it and figuring things out. I was texting my friends, like, would you want to come on, share your story, what you've learned, all the things. Um, and it was just, yeah, it kind of just took off from there. And now we have Beam Boldly, which is inspired by the verse Matthew 5:16, let your light shine before others. And yeah, it's been so cool and it's strengthened my faith a whole lot just because even like through this season of gymnastics, I had a lot of ups and downs. First half of the year I wasn't competing barely at all. Got in a couple meets, had a mistake, was out again. But was in back in lineup for postseason, which of course is like regionals, nationals,
Hmm.
SECs, all that stuff. And what I thought was so cool was that whether I was competing or not, there was almost always one little girl at the end of the meet that was like, "I watch your podcast," or like,
That's
"Thanks so
awesome.
much for like posting that." Either
Hmm.
a little girl or a parent or somebody, and so that was just a constant reminder, like it's bigger than this. Like it's bigger than you not getting to do that beam routine today. Like it's okay because
Yeah.
someone heard about Jesus,
Hmm.
or it's like wow, they heard about Jesus and you did a great beam routine. That's inspiring because they
Hmm.
know that you were relying on the Lord for that.
Yeah.
And so it's helped me grow in my faith a lot. Also because what I'm talking about, I better live up to.
Hmm.
So it's
Hmm.
also held me accountable of like
Yeah.
when I go to the gym super nervous, I'm like, wait, what would I talk about on Being Boldly right now? Like,
Yeah.
let me listen to my own advice real quick.
That's awesome.
So that's been really cool.
Yeah. And I think it's cool because like I mean this, I don't mean this selfishly, but I've learned so much through my podcast and listening to other
Mhm.
people that it's helped me out so much. Like I still think of things that, in episode 4 with Ron Franklin Jr. and like Sunshine Looters and all these cool people that I've Malachi Corley, an NFL wide receiver. Like I've learned so many different things and like
Yeah.
how these elite athletes go about their day, and just how they lean on God and their testimony. And I'm like, wow, like
Yeah.
now I had that epiphany after the fact, but like, wow, I wish I would have had someone to tell me
Mhm.
because I wish I would have talked to these people forever ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, with my podcast, it kind of come up. I felt this tug, I felt like, man, like my testimony helped people out. It got a lot of views. It got over 50,000 views on both TikTok and Instagram, and I was like,
Wow.
people like that. People are
Yeah.
seeing it, and people like vulnerability and authenticity, and how God has worked through people's lives. How can I help other people? Like maybe there's a story out there. This is my train of thought. It was maybe there's a story out there that would help more people. So I was like, okay, but they don't want to tell the story because I was so afraid that my testimony wasn't enough. There wasn't a happy ending. It wasn't like I was on the bench and then I was a starter in a first team all conference or whatever. I went from the bench and then I became a starter at NAIA and I didn't do great and I didn't get any honors. I didn't do any, but like there wasn't a happy ending. So how could I have felt like there was, something good for me? And I was looking at it like this. I was like, people aren't looking at my stats or my accomplishments or my achievements. They're looking at who I am as a human being, who I am as a Christian. So
Mhm.
how can I help other people that maybe feel like that they're not enough, that their story wasn't enough, that what they went through wasn't enough because there wasn't anything good to come from it and help them and impact them. And so that was my mindset. That's what is
Yeah.
carrying Speak from the Heart. And it's a generic name, but that's where I was talking from. I felt like it was authentic and genuine. I'm
Yeah.
talking from
It's
my
real.
heart. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's what I try to lean on. And I mean, in Mark 16:15, it talks about going into the world and proclaiming the gospel. So we are made to spread the gospel and and
Mhm.
and to build his kingdom on earth. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's and whoever's watching this, I've made a video on this earlier this week, but it's if you feel like you do not have a purpose or you feel like you lack a calling, follow that purpose of
Mhm.
following Jesus and proclaiming his gospel to the world because that purpose is better than any other purpose that you could
Right.
possibly achieve on this earth. And so
Yeah.
that's what we're both doing. So I think it's awesome. Like not to
Yeah.
brag, it's super cool, but like I
No.
love it so much. It's awesome.
Well, I think it's so cool too, that not only are we, helping like the younger generation or, people our age,
Hmm.
um, but what it does in return, like for you, and again, like I hope this doesn't sound selfish, kind of like what you were saying, but what it does in return is really cool. And yes, there's the side of like, I want to help people. I want to help people. I want to help people. But there's also the side of like, I want to provide a platform where people can come on and share about their faith. And
Yeah.
they haven't known how to do that on their social media. They haven't felt, comfortable or safe
Yes.
doing that. So providing that kind of platform too, that was actually another layer that kind of came later for me of like, oh my gosh, so many of my teammates like are believers, but people might not know. And like we got to get that out there because
Hmm.
we are called to go and make disciples. Like it's bigger than just like reading your Bible in your room, which of course you should do and it's
Yeah.
awesome and it
Yeah.
grows that relationship with the Lord, but like we're called to go out. So like how
Hmm.
can we go out and like show our faith? And if Being Boldly or Speak from the Heart can be a platform for that, like all that's doing is us walking out in that calling that the Lord's,
Yeah.
called for the whole world to do.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that too is like talking about your teammates. I started this up in the fall, and I was like, I need to get our senior captain Clay Shelton because he leads our our life group. And we've been through a similar experience. We actually were supposed to go to EKU together, but he left to go to the Cumberlands. And so we were supposed to be teammates. I had known of him for a very long time, and now 3 years later we're on the same team, and we were supposed to be 3 years ago. So that was a super cool full circle moment for me. But I also got to talk about him and his faith and like how powerful he kind of goes about his day and the things he's gone through and his testimony, and that's super cool. Like just the people you're around, the testimonies that people have, and the stories that people have.
Yeah.
They're so impactful, and you wouldn't even really know it until you really got to know somebody and talk
Right.
about it with them. But everyone has a story that will help somebody else. That's
Mhm.
another cool thing that I've realized.
For sure.
Um, but talk about let's go into your faith.
Mhm.
Has it always been a central part of your life? Was Jesus always um, just the main like was it? I'm sure that you had a moment where you're like, wow, my relationship with Christ isn't as personal as I want, and it's not as
Yeah.
real as I want. So, was there a moment like that you realized that um, faith needs to be your center?
Yeah. I think honestly, in my transition from high school and club to the University of Georgia, that was huge. I grew up also with the same club coach like my whole career. So that was just like I was really comfortable like in
Hmm.
that. And she knew how to talk me down when she could tell I was freaking out. Like I remember regionals my senior year. Um, it was like regionals trying to qualify to nationals. I had messed up on some events and I ended on beam and I look at her and I just start like tears just like falling.
Hmm.
And I was like right before I'm about to go. And she knew exactly what to say to like snap me back into it and get me going. And like great beam routine made nationals. So like I always just like knew and could rely on her for that. But I was like, oh my gosh, what if I get to college and I don't have the same thing? Like I don't know how to
Hmm.
I don't have that person to lean on. And
Yeah.
that's when I was like, now is my time to lean on the Lord and to figure out how I I can invite him into what I'm doing because
Yeah.
I no longer have that area of comfort. Um, and when I came in, of course, like I have my freshman class that's new, but I also came into a new coaching staff.
Hmm.
So that was huge. That was different too. And I was like, they're not going to know me. They're not going to know how to handle me. What if they have no idea that I'm like scared of my skills all the time? Like, oh my gosh, they're going to
Yeah.
think I'm a pain to work with or
Yes. Oh my
whatever.
gosh. Yeah.
And so I was like, I've got to figure out not how to do this on my own, but like how to lean into the Lord so that I don't have to rely on that like worldly thing or figure or
Hmm.
person to help me through. So, yeah, definitely my faith was not really the central part of my life really until I got to the University of Georgia. Of course, I grew up in like a Christian home and my dad was like I always wrote 413 in the inside of my hat and all that stuff like when he
Hmm.
played. So it was a part of it and I knew about it and of it. Um and even like in high school, that's when I really started to have a personal relationship. But
Yeah.
then when I got to college, it was like, okay, now this is like the central part of my life. And now I'm
Yeah.
realizing that like this is why I do gymnastics. This is why I do like all the things that I do. It's not I do these things and then also like it's not compartmentalized, right? It's
Yeah.
like no, here's God and like he's in all these different things that I'm doing.
Yes. Yeah. And what's cool about that is like I saw this verse. It was James 4, verse 8. It says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you.
Yep.
And I never faced a bunch of adversity growing up. I started to face a little bit of anxiety, had little problems, but it was
Mhm.
college. College is what changed my relationship with Jesus. And it was cool hearing what you said about like, how will these coaches know how I'm feeling or how will they know how I deal with things or the other things that I'm facing? I had my
Mhm.
dad. My dad was a coach throughout my whole entire life, all throughout high school, and now my dad is on the coaching staff at a college, and so I'm like, wow, I'm playing for these guys that are pretty much strangers, but I'm trying to get to know them better because they're my coaches, and
Yeah.
because I got recruited by a completely different coach, and then whenever they came in, I had not known who these people were, so I'm trying to learn them. They're trying to learn me. They've never seen me play before, and that pressure got so big. My anxiety was terrible. I had to take anxiety meds. I was afraid of getting sick. I was away from home, and anytime I felt bad, I was like, I miss my mom and dad. Like I was homesick. I hated baseball that my first fall, but my they convinced me to go back and just try it out for one more year, and that was the best decision I ever made
Yeah.
because I realized that okay, so I actually went to therapy for a little bit of my anxiety.
Yeah.
The thing that I took away from it the most, the thing that I remember the most from it was avoidance. Like when we avoid things, we like especially guys, people with anxiety, they avoid the things that they're afraid of, and they avoid the circumstances that may trigger that anxiety. So you're reinforcing that idea that okay, that was scary, so I'm not going to do that
Mhm.
anymore. I would avoid those things. I would avoid situations that would put me in that little bit of like a mode. But once I started facing that every day, I had to face that at practice. I had to face that at meetings. I had to face that living on my own for how many months that I was that fall and that spring. And that started changing me because I decided to go back and continue going and continue going. But this time it was with God because I knew that He was going to lead me. Like the storm, the ship is not safe, or the ship is safe in the port, but that is not what ships are for. We're meant to go. We're meant to go and do and to leave our mark and to live for Him. And I wasn't going to do that in Somerset, Kentucky. I needed to go.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest thing for me. Now I don't take any anxiety meds. I've not taken them for years. I used to take Pepto-Bismol when my stomach would get upset. Don't take it anymore. Like
Mhm.
I've laid down so many things. And me and Pierce George, who's actually a pitcher in the White Sox organization, we talked about this
Mhm.
last podcast episode, but just such like that freedom and like not knowing like what exactly people have like what people have gone through. Like no one knew that I was experiencing that other than the people that were closest to me. Um, but just dropping that and feeling so free and being
Mhm.
able to just lean on God through that's so powerful and I praise it all the time. Like I've come such a long way. Like if you I was just a little timid kid. I was afraid of everything in the world, but now I'm talking to strangers every day and like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about getting a sales job, being personable with other people and like I was
Yeah.
never an extroverted and now I'm extroverted. It's really strange and like how
Yeah.
God has shifted me and just enjoying life and just enjoying every day that I'm given. And
Yeah.
I think that perspective is super cool. But we'll start to wrap this up. So, what would you say to a young Brooke who feels that pressure, maybe feels a little bit distant from God, tries to be perfect, or maybe struggles with their confidence, struggles with their anxiety in their sport? What would you tell her?
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I could go back and just like hold myself and
Yeah.
give myself a hug when I was younger. And I really think of two things. Number one, like start with gratitude. Gratitude and like the impact or how do I say this? Gratitude has had like a huge impact on my walk and my story and my experience, in gymnastics, but also just in life. And of course that all goes back to like thanking the Lord because he's the reason for all of those things to be grateful for. So I would encourage myself to like start with gratitude, start every day with gratitude, start every practice with gratitude.
Yes.
Like how cool that we have four working limbs that can run and jump and flip and throw a ball and all those things.
Yeah.
And not everybody can do that. And of course, like they have their own gifts that we're not as good at and whatever. So I'm thinking
Hmm.
like if anyone's listening to this and you're not able to do your sport, maybe you're injured, whatever, like you are given more gifts beyond that, but still starting with just the fact that like wow, I get to do this. It's really cool. Thank you, God, that I get to go hang out with my friends and like build these relationships. And then the second part would just be to start inviting him in, which sounds really hard. And I
Hmm.
can see my younger self being like, well, I don't understand how to invite him in. And to that, I would just say, just start talking to him. Just start
Hmm.
literally saying the words like, God, I invite you into this. God, will you come into this with me?
Hmm.
Like, God, walk me through practice today. Walk me
Hmm.
through this beam routine. I don't want to do this alone, and,
Yeah.
and again, it's not like he's holding my hand on the beam, helping me
Yeah.
walk, but it almost feels like that in a way, especially over time as you invite him in more and more and more, because it builds that relationship. So those would
Yeah.
be my two things to younger Brooke.
Yeah. That's awesome. And what you said about like kind of like how would I do this? How would I lay it down to, or how would I invite him in? For me, it was laying down and casting down my anxiety. I remember
Mhm.
talking with my parents, like, and they would be like, "You just lay it down, Lord, let God have it." And I'd be so frustrated. I'd be like, "How do I give this up to him? I'll give it to you, God. Okay, now I'm gonna walk away from it." But like, it kept on following me. It kept on following me around. Like, how do I have to constantly lay this thing down. And what you said about inviting him, just God, this is yours. Like the battle is yours. This is not my battle. And just to cast all of our anxiety onto him because he cares for us. I'm pretty sure in 1 Peter 5 verse 7 it says that.
Yeah.
But just casting out all our fear and our anxiety and our trouble and our doubt. He has a plan. And I think one of the coolest things, I don't know if it's a specific word for word verse, but it talks about how if it is not your plan, no matter how hard you chase it, it will not happen. But if it is, it will find you. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
there is a verse in Proverbs that talks about like that.
Yeah.
But gosh, that like holding on to that and being okay with like, okay, I wasn't supposed to win. Or I wasn't
Mhm.
supposed to do that today. Okay, I won today. But like, yeah, sure, it's all great and nice and whatever, but what does God really want from me? Am I
Yeah.
truly winning if it's not in his will? And just following
Yeah.
him, being in constant conversation with him, all that stuff's awesome. And
Yeah.
just what you said about gratitude is really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I was talking to a friend the other day actually, about, God's plan and what does that look like and how do we know if we're walking in that or walking away from it. And we were just talking about how if you are constantly inviting him in, if you're
mhm.
in your word, you're learning. You're surrounding yourself as much as you can with like a community of believers who want the best for you and who are going to speak wisdom into you, then there's no way you can't be on his path for you. You
Yeah.
know, like even if the path is bumpy and you're
Mhm.
like, I don't understand. I'm, again, doing all these things, I'm inviting the Lord in and I still feel like I'm off track. There just might be bumps in the path, but that doesn't mean that it's not his path for
Yeah.
you. And again, you're probably going to stray away at one point. You're
Mhm.
probably going to start, going off the trail, but if you come back to the word and your prayers and inviting him into literally every single little thing and decision that you're doing, there's no way you can't be on his plan and on his path for you because
Yeah.
it's what you're walking in. He is in all of those things that you're inviting him into.
Exactly right. And I even talked about this in one of my last videos talking about why does God make us wait? And it's
Mm,
having that faith. Why would I be given all these things like if they were just given to me? Like, oh, it's cool, I got it. Sometimes we have to wait. Sometimes we have to be in uncertainty, like those bumpy paths that we don't understand. Like, why am I having to go through this, God?
right.
But a perspective, and I'll leave with this because I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you're probably pretty busy. But what is God trying to teach me? And being in that like scenario, like, okay, I'm in such a terrible place, my mentality's off, I'm in a bad situation. um like, what is he trying to teach me here? What is he trying to teach me to prepare me for my next step that he wants me to take? And that's a cool perspective to lean on, and I encourage you, whoever's listening, to lean onto it, because that's helped me out so much, and just realizing, hey, it's okay. Like, he's obviously trying to teach me something. What am I going to take away from it? And nothing that I faced has killed me. So I'm still here, and I'm
Yep.
better than I ever have. So I encourage it. Like, okay, yeah, bring me the challenge. Like, what else?
Mhm.
Because I always end up better on the other side, and I'm sure you can agree with that as well.
Totally.
But
100%.
Brooke, thank you so much for coming on here. If you have anything else to say, you got the floor. But if not, I really appreciate you wanting to do this. You're actually my first female athlete on
Let's
Speak from the
go.
Heart. So congratulations. That's
Thank
awesome. I'm super glad that you were able to do this, and I wish you the absolute best with being
thank you.
boldly. I will be a fan. I will follow it. But If you got anything else, you got the floor. The floor
Yeah.
is yours.
No, thank you so much for having me on and just creating another platform and another space to talk about the Lord and point things back to Him, and take, two things we love, sports and God, and combine them. So just thank you for your obedience and your faithfulness to the Lord in doing that. But yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. Okay, well, thank you all so much for watching. Come back next Sunday for the next episode. We'll see you later.